welcoming all the attendees for the seminar and webinar, in fact, for today's topic that is relevant in today's context when we are going through the typical and peculiar phase of having to stay in lockdowns and at homes and deprived of normal activities because of corona and the viral emergencies that they are taking place all across the globe. So it becomes very relevant that we look on the other side also as to how viral and other emergencies and other techniques can be utilized very constructively to make sure that good things are happening for the humankind. And that is why today's webinar has been titled as Biologics, the Other Side of Spectrum in the Age of Corona, the next thing in medications and therapeutics for chronic inflammatory, cancer and other disorders. To begin with, I will just categorize one thing. Corona virus is broadly categorized in the category of biologics or biologicals, as we call them. And it is a very broad category, and it represents all those things which are derived from living cells and either may be used for strategic purposes, therapeutic purposes, diagnostic purposes, or for prevention and other purposes. So starting again, as we see, it is very indicative of a very peculiar situation that we are in today. Earlier, a small sneeze used to invoke a response of God bless and sort of support from the nearby standing person. And contrastingly, presently, even a small sneeze elicits a very bizarre response from all the people who are surrounding us, whether they are very close to us or known to us, or maybe when we are there in a situation where we are interacting with people from other places. So as you can see, a very bizarre response up to the level when people can think about informing the FBI or CBI in case of India that something is amiss. So that is the situation that we are standing in because of a small virus which is causing havoc and dealing very differently with the humankind. If you see the data for the one country itself, for US, the coronavirus has uh, created a condition of very huge catastrophe, and the calculations coming from one country, that is US, of the loss of lives is comparable to what it happened in World War II, and the catastrophe or the loss of life is even higher than what they faced in wars like Vietnam War, Korean War, Afghanistan, Iraq wars combined together. So that is the level of catastrophe this small biological virus is unleashing on the single country, and we already know the data on the complete global population. So if you talk about the virus and the other bacterial pandemics that have occurred over the years, they have been connected to either some or the other virus or bacteria, which have been intentionally developed, which have been intentionally mass-scale produced, and which have been intentionally deployed through weapons of mass destruction. And broadly, they are either falling into one or other of the following six categories: either the Bacillus type bacteria, the Francisella tularensis or variola, or botulinum toxin, or Yersinia, or other viral hemorrhagic fevers. And coronavirus has acquired a good name for itself, producing many variants over the years since 2000, including the Middle East SARS virus, the common SARS virus, and the corona now. And if you see the responses are also very diverse in all these viral or bacterial epidemics or pandemics, and sometimes they are used as bioweapons. So they can be categorized as bioweapon or terrorist attacks, in which all these lethal viral and bacterial uh, organisms are unleashed into a population, so that there is a considerable damage without using any other weapon of mass destruction, including nuclear or other things. And it also has the advantage that if it is used as a bioweapon, it is considerably less costly to cause the level of destruction that we want from the other things. So if we just see an example, botulism, which was used very frequently earlier as a bioweapon, used to cause considerable paralysis starting from the upper part of the body and then going to the lower part of the body. COVID-19 or corona, as we can see, is mainly affecting the lungs, as we can see. The virus, as it reaches in the lower part of the lungs, it starts causing considerable damage to the tracheal and bronchial tracts, and then finally the alveoli or the air flaps of the lungs, which are very delicate and they have to be maintained in a very good homeostatic conditions with appropriate intercellular fluids, making sure that the alveoli are appropriately moistened with appropriate surface tension. The viral attack at the lower level of the alveoli causes great changes in the surface tension of the fluid, which maintains the function of the alveoli and air exchange. And when it reaches a drastic condition, it causes acute respiratory distress syndrome, which has to be managed by immediate hospitalization and even oxygen therapy, and as well as the ventilators that we have been seeing, because the lungs are not able to uh, dilate, and they are not able to perform the function of taking oxygen and sending it to the other organs through the blood. If you see the other mass biological weapons, we have the example of Gulf War, in which a very high amount of approximately 19,000 liters of concentrated botulinum toxins that were loaded into military weapons, and they were used in Iraq war. And ultimately, uh, that became one of the reasons for the further action by the NATO forces. If you see the global impact of COVID-19, it is already visible. We are already having a lot of data being discussed on television channels and other online channels. And this is the projection of country-wise impact of COVID-19, country-wise impact on the economic growth, or the percentage growth rate, which are annual growth rates, which are depicted. And they are supposed to be drastically going down and even going on the negative side in case of some countries which have already projected their economic growth on the negative side, countries like Italy and others. So that is the scale of economic catastrophe that this virus is causing because of decrease in human activity, decrease in business activity, and decrease in technology and other activity which are useful in country building. So that is the impact of a small virus, and that is why it is relevant that we discuss as to what are the positive things and what are the negative things, and what are the technology that will be taking place in context with this virus and this epidemic in the near future, and how the research and innovation will be changing. That is very important. So as it is, if we see a grim picture, uh, this is something like this, and we need to be prepared for new technologies, new innovations, and uh, fast research which can cater to the immediate demands of the situation, because it is expected that such epidemics and pandemics and other things and biologicals will keep on unfolding as the century progresses, because the virus has an origin. Virus is actually a metabolic toxin which is secreted by some or the other bacteria, and it acquires its own immunity and it acquires its own structure and starts pervading through the atmosphere and going around. So this excretory product from a bacteria can be caused by the atmosphere, the in the or the climate which is changing because of the technology that we are using, the lifestyle that we are following, and the as in this case in corona, that we have seen that the eating habits that have been probably indicated as the cause of the initiation of this virus. So naturally, the response has to be very fast in future such cases. The research has to be very fast. The research has to be fast delivering. The research has to be very outcome based, and it has to be giving results very fast. So that is the thing that we look forward to. A very prominent thing that we can see is a forecast on the diagnostics for the next 10 years, which is supposed to increase many folds in this scenario, and similar scenarios that will be unraveling for the next 10 years. So a small industry forecast for one particular industry segment, that is the diagnostic, molecular diagnostic, which are used for diagnostic diseases. So projection is very good for the industry, but slightly not very good for the humankind when we imagine ourselves to being subjected to so much of testing. But as we talk about industry, it is a good forecast for them because diagnostics are going to increase. So that is one. So why we have this webinar and how it is relevant to many people which are connected to different fields. So that can be visible through the following 4 or 5 slides. If you see India has been having a very low budget in healthcare spending over the years, approximately 1.29% or maybe 2 to 2.5% being spent on healthcare, as compared to many other countries, including Japan, as high as 9.2, US 14.3, Germany 9.5, and many other countries which are having a very good expenditure on healthcare, maintenance, healthcare, emergencies, healthcare diagnostics, healthcare research, pharmaceutical research for use in healthcare. So they have a well laid out budget every year. So for India, it is a call so that the segment can be stimulated for more research, and faster output. So a lot of things to see for healthcare and pharma sector. Because of this thing, expectedly the spending will increase in these areas. If we see some other countries, for example, US as an example, the major expenditure on the budget in the budget is on military and defense, and healthcare approximately 6 to 10% as we have seen, including veterans benefit and medical and healthcare. So approximately 10% as we have seen. So now, expectedly in the next 20 or 30 years, or maybe 2 or 3 decades, as we expect more of such virus and other things and biological things, expectedly the different countries' budget will definitely see a drastic change. Now, another aspect when we are talking about biologicals, because we are having this webinar, we will be trying to focus on the positive side of the biological. We'll be not be just focusing on the biological weapons or the viral epidemics or the pandemics. We'll be focusing on how usefully these viral and other molecules are being used. They are being used earlier also. Virus, they are being used after attenuation or decreasing their activity or finishing their activity. They are being used in mild doses as vaccine to stimulate the immune responses. And now, as we see, there are a number of other things that these viruses and bacteria are being used and to produce therapeutics, which are very good for the humankind in treating and creating therapies for diseases which are very complicated, like cancer and inflammatory diseases like arthritis and other things, which are crippling patients of different age groups, and how these biologicals can be used. So when we talk about biologicals in this webinar, we'll be talking about the positive sides as to how the biologicals can be utilized for constructive and positive contribution to humankind. So the takeaways for the webinars will be how these biologicals can be utilized, and how we can see opportunities in biologics research for the pharma professionals, bio and healthcare professionals, scientists and technologists also for automation and large scale. Then large scale commercial manufacturing setups, which is a good area for technologists, engineers, pharma as well as healthcare. When we are talking about new technologies, automatically we start talking about the business supply chain management and other things. So lots of things to look forward to for the business executives also. Distribution, then clinical management and therapy for the healthcare professionals. So one of the prominent things when we look on the positive side, as I said, we are trying to look on the other side of the spectrum. The positive side will be gradually, as the use of biologicals, we will be defining the biologicals more and more clearly in the further slides, so that you can understand what are biologicals and which are different from the dangerous vaccine, and how very friendly vaccines and other biologicals, what they are. We will see that the more and more biological therapies that they are coming into the use, precision medicine is getting more and more boost. We are able to treat each and every patient depending upon his or her own diagnostic markers, and then give a very specific treatment to that person, so that it gives a very categorized and very well balanced outcome, or therapeutic outcome in that patient. And it is not a one size fit all medicine that we are trying to go forward to. And as compared to the normal synthetic pharmaceutical molecules, the biological which are being discovered more and more, they have a greater chance to be used in precision medicine. Again, in this, lot of things to look forward to various professionals, including pharma, healthcare, biotechnologists, engineers, technologists, and automation experts, wherein the industry looks forward to very fast delivery, very fast outputs, very fast research outputs, and very fast usefulness to the society. As we are seeing in this case of corona, we are not able to get the vaccine till now, because clinical trials take some time before establishing exactly as to what will be the level of side effects or adverse events. That has to be assessed by first making trials on considerable number of patients, then statistically analyzing it by using statistical softwares as to how many patients were treated, what was the response, what were the adverse event or the side effects, and how much significance is attached to each of the adverse events, so that we can analyze as to the ratio between risk and benefit is appropriate, so that we can overlook the risk which is not very significant, and we can look forward positively to the outcome or the benefit, and we can make the product available to the patient for regular use after approval by the government. Again, on such more areas, as we can see when we talk about precision medicine, we can see that for every patient, all the activities are connected, and they happen very customized to a patient. So all the activities are happening customized to different patient. We can, when we talk about biologicals or the biological products, we'll be talking about cellular products, we'll be talking about stem cell products, we'll be talking about products from based on antibodies extracted from the cells, we'll be talking about virus being used as positively. So lots of things are there, making and ensuring they are maintained in cold chain. They are distributed in cold chain. So automation and making it a continuous process that involves the technology and all these things: cell formulation, cell washing, concentration, again automation, cell expansion, genetic modification, cell separation. So a lot of technologies we see which will be expectedly advancing more and more. So apart from healthcare and pharma and biotech professionals, lot of things to look forward to when we talk about precision medicine and customized medication in biological medicines. So finally, we come to the initiation of the positive side of the biological, the other side of the spectrum of the biologicals. So when we are talking about corona, we are seeing these type of structures regularly now. I think we all must be very much accustomed to all these things, seeing all these things, just like a Chinese rubber ball coming from China. A typical viral structure is made up of lot of proteins. So proteins will be one thing that we will be dealing with very frequently whenever we are talking about biological. So protein structures, they are very specific. They bind to very specific things, and they cause effects in only after binding in a specific thing. So what is the structure of protein? The three-dimensional structures, the establishment of three-dimensional structures, the method of folding and unfolding. If there is a slight change in the structure or folding or unfolding of the proteins are mostly very closely winded or helical. So how their reaction changes even if they are slightly twisted. So these type of things are very important. So earlier examples we have already seen Ebola virus and measles virus. So they have a very high complicated protein structures. So now, as I said, the pharmaceutical industry is talking more about biologicals. A lot of products are coming in the biological categories. If we talk about the normal pharmaceutical molecules, if aspirin is known to everyone, calcitonin is also known to everyone. These are small molecules dimensions are indicated in comparative sizes, multiplied if we take it as a smallest size. So we can see the contrasting difference between the biologicals, which are very much larger in size, and this is a monoclonal antibody which has been extracted from human cell or other cell, and because it has been extracted from a living cell, so it is called as a biological product. So these antibodies are very specific to a particular antigen, and they can be very highly purified and then removed and freed from all other toxins which are associated during this separation and isolation processes, and then they can be administered to patients after they have gone through proper clinical trial for the possible side effects. So you can see they are very large structures. So whenever we will be talking about biologics, there will be large structures and protein structures that we'll be talking about. So this is the type of structure again and differentiation. Normally, when we are taking medicines, we are talking about small molecules, aspirin and other things. Insulin, in case of insulin, it is a large molecule, but when we talk about monoclonal antibodies, they are again very large protein molecules, very highly folded. So these are again part of the biologics which are useful to the humankind or mankind, and producing various therapeutic effects and being used in a very positive way as compared to the agents which are causing pandemic, epidemics, or biological warfare. So this is just a typical structure of microscopically magnified protein structure, and even a small modification causes a change in the protein response. So biologicals, they have to be very minutely observed that their structure is not modified during manufacture, and there has to be continuous observation and automation of the process, because a minute modification in the structure causes a drastic change in the response as well as a drastic change in the adverse event possibilities. So as we see proteins, the folded structure, unfolded structure, a lot of research, a lot of automation, a lot of engineering technologies involved in extrapolating these structures, the elucidating these structures, a lot of proteins reserved as banks, a lot of cellular structure reserved as bank, and they can be continuously extracted or used for extracting useful proteins. So banks are being maintained for these proteins. Cell banks are being maintained for research into new proteins. So when we talk about biologicals, the proteins or the biological research, they become synonymous, or sometimes we call it as the proteomic research. So a lot of technology into maintaining all these things, a lot of engineering into maintaining all these things, large scale research, which is called as the bulk research or very high throughput research, we call it, because if we waste our time in testing each and every single molecule, it will be a very slow output. So we have a system where thousands of molecules are immediately put into a research process and immediately results are obtained. So automation, high throughput screening of protein structures and banks of all these things. So technology, a lot of technology into research as well as into manufacturing, automation, all this. Now we come back to how can virus and all these things can be used beneficially. This can be visible through this small depiction. Virus enters into a human cell. It is taken up by a vesicle in the human cell at the microscopic level, and then gradually it is released. A virus is normally a simple RNA, or in some cases a DNA strand. Mostly it is an RNA strand. RNA is a nuclear material which carries some signal, and that signal can ultimately further transfer the signal and help the other bodies inside the cell to generate proteins, which can be either useful or non-useful to the cell. And cell continuously produces these proteins and throws them out, and again, or this virus can again replicate, and it can again uh, multiply in quantity, and it can again go into the next cell and thereby increase the cellular response or the disease response. Or there may be some structures which can be produced because of the signal that this virus is carrying into the nucleus, cellular nucleus, and thereby the positive or the useful or the non-useful response can be again carried to the other cells. So we will just see an example as to how this virus is being utilized in a very positive way to produce products which are acting as carriers into cells, which are carrying some drugs into these cells for particular disease like cancer. So one such example is this product which is called as the Luxturna, and it was approved in 2017 and from Spark Therapeutics. approved by the US FDA. It is a virus which carries another drug as a vector inside the cell, and thereby it helps in sorting out or sorting out the disease mechanism by delivering a particular therapeutic product into that particular site. We are talking about the disease which is called as the inherited retinal disease. For inherited retinal disease, this product has been made, and this is using a virus as a carrier which carries the useful product into the retinal cell and delivers a functional copy of a gene which corrects the disease, which is because of the modification of the gene. The disease has happened because of the modification of gene. So this virus carries that particular modified gene and corrects the genetic disorder. And in this way, it is very constructively being used. Virus is being very constructively being used to deliver this thing. So very constructive example, that is the other side of the spectrum that we are talking about when we are talking about corona, and the other side of the biological. So very constructively utilization of the virus for using as a carrier to deliver genes which can modify the disease response. So same way, many other biologicals are being utilized. They go through the research process, development, animal studies, then small scale manufacturing, then appropriate amount for human testing in small hospital setup or testing sites, then result compilation, and finally approval by the regulatory body. This is the normal cycle with all the drugs or all the innovative products, whether they are biologicals or the other things, they go through this thing. So again, the same depiction, same cycle when the new product, whether pharmaceutical small molecule or biological large molecule, they have to go through the same cycle: target selection, lead discovery. And as I say, this depicts a high throughput screening model in which, rather than testing one molecule at a time, thousands of molecules are being tested at the same time. So a lot of automation, a lot of engineering, a lot of other things and technology, so that the results of the research are very fast, the results of the research are very productive, and outcome is fast. Now we come to biologicals as a broad category. What are biologicals? So when we define biologicals, all those substances which are obtained from living cells, either from microorganism cells or from human cells or from animal cells, and they can be directly extracted, or their output can be increased by using biotechnology. Biotechnology is the method by which we try to increase the output of these cellular substances, which may be plant cells also. We talk about plant biotechnology also. So we try to increase the output of these substances from the cells by using technology, that is biotechnology. So biologicals are all substances from the living cells, and nowadays we are talking very much as to the usefulness of the biologicals for treating disease and medical conditions. And some of the examples that we talk about, or various categories that will be more and more listening to in the coming years. And if we will see another data as to the market data as to how many products are there in the market which are of the small molecule or the pharmaceutical type, and how many molecules or the drugs are there in the market which are of the large molecule or the biological type, we'll be seeing that the total amount of, or the quantity of the biologicals, the share of these products in the market is gradually increasing, and it is almost about 40% in the current scenario, when about 40% of the total therapeutic products, including pharmaceutical or the small molecules and the biologicals or the large protein molecules, combined together, the biologicals are making approximately 40% of the total therapeutic products. So they include monoclonal antibodies, which are extracted from the cells; vaccines, as I said, vaccines are viruses or bacteria which have been attenuated, or their activity has been killed or destroyed, or they have been killed, but they can still elucidate an immune response in the body, so that for further infection, the body is ready with the antibodies which are helping in killing the attack into the body by the antigens or the proteins which are produced by the viral or the bacterial infection in the body. Then we have the gene therapy. We are extracting genes from the cells and they are being used for therapy. We have cell therapies. Various cells are directly being used for uh, uh, treating various diseases. We have a typical therapy, that is antisense. We'll go through it. We have typical therapy, which is recombinant fusion protein therapy. We have stem cell therapy. We have tissue engineering therapies. All these are combinedly called as the biologicals, or in short, they are also called as the biologics. lot of technology, a lot of engineering, so that output is fast. How high throughput research is there. So a lot of things to look forward for technology also as well as for business, as well as for supply chain, because they require specific conditions for supply chain. And naturally, because the cost of production is very high, and expectedly their price or the rate at which they are available in the market is also very high. And so a lot of business profitability margin for the innovator companies when they are going for establishing large scale plants for these products. So business aspects are also there apart from the human benefit or the societal benefits. So if we say some of the recent examples of these biologicals, the product categories remain same. These are the product categories, and in these product categories, these are some of the newer products which are coming: vaccine to treat melanoma, monoclonal antibody treatment of asthma, antisense therapy for the treatment of leukemia. And when we talk about these biologicals for treatment of these categories, uh, I can, with my knowledge, at least say that they are very efficient as compared to the small molecules or the chemical molecules. Maybe the efficiency may vary or differ from the small molecule to the extent of 40 or more than 40%. And the outcomes are sustained, outcomes are prolonged, and in some cases even they are also giving a permanent cure also. So that is the promise that these biologicals are giving, and that is the benefit that the society look forward to when we talk about all these biologicals. If we talk about the current scenario, how many products are already there or they are in the pipeline in the market of different types, this is the current scenario. The blue region indicates those in the second phase of entering the clinical trial. The green phase indicates second or third phase of the clinical trial, and the light green phase indicates which have already entered the market after passing through the clinical trials and getting approval from the various regulatory bodies of various countries. So anti-sense technology products, we see around 30, cell therapy products 69, gene therapy products 46, monoclonal antibodies approximately 300, recombinant proteins approximately 100, vaccines 300, and others 81. So a lot of positive things to look forward to, and this will go on increasing because the technology is getting more and more automated, and it is being developed day by day. And if you see the disease-wise also, cancer is one of the areas which is being largely studied for use of these biological products. So for cancers, vaccines, around 89 vaccines have been developed, antisense products have been developed, cell therapy products have been developed, gene therapy products have been developed, monoclonal antibodies are very much there into the market, and they are very much being used by research institutes as well as hospitals in India, as good as PGI Chandigarh, as well as other hospitals. They are very much using all these antibodies for cancer therapy. So we don't just have chemotherapy and radiotherapy as one of the options. We now have the option of monoclonal antibodies, and they have the advantage that they can even carry chemotherapeutic agents tied up to them, and they can take them to particular area in which the cancer is there, and they can help deliver that radionucleotide in that area very specifically without destroying the nearby cells. So another advantage that these biological products, particularly monoclonal antibodies, that they are providing is that they are giving very specific cancer therapy without causing much harm to the associated normal cells within the body whenever a patient is undergoing cancer therapy. Even for other diseases like infectious diseases, we have all these products which are very much happening, and which are, as I said in my title, webinar title, the in things which are gradually increasing in the market, and in the next 10 years we'll be almost having 50% of small molecule pharmaceuticals as well as 50% of biologicals. Naturally the cost will be higher, the naturally precision will be higher, naturally advanced technologies will be there, and naturally supply chain and other things will also be very advanced. So when we talk about biological, we can again classify them into first in class or originals, biosimilars, and biosuperior. They are very simple. Originals, that means innovator products or the company products of innovator companies. Biosimilars means the patent time has been completed, 20 years that we are following in present context. The new product by a particular company, the patent period has expired, and after that the other companies are open to manufacture and develop a similar product, which is called as the biosimilar, without any specific advantage, but exactly the same advantages as the original product is giving. Or in some cases, the second company which starts manufacturing the original innovator products, it does some modification and makes it superior. So that is called as the biosuperior. And naturally, this segment offers a very large financial as well as the return advantage to the company also. That already the clinical trial was done by the original innovator, and they have already proved the minimum side effect to the patients. Now, this company has already got the clinical data, and they are adding some another features or more features and making it superior to the first company. So naturally, putting in the same expenses, they have got some other benefits, and they can rate or increase the cost of their products and derive more margins from the industry out of these products. So first in class, naturally, they have the greatest risk because they are coming for the first time, so they have to be tested very exhaustively for all mechanisms as well as other things. And the new technologies have to be used for production. Recombinant technologies, these technologies have to be standardized or validated for regular manufacturing. And then there can be problems in mammalian expression techniques. Then it's a very high cost industry. The research and development is a very high cost. So naturally, we see industry trends in which a lot of industries try to combine hands, or they join hands so that they can bear the expenses. Another aspect of these biologicals is that we'll be seeing more and more mergers and acquisition, which is one of the outcomes of these biologicals. Many pharmaceutical companies have already joined hands. Very mega pharmaceutical companies and biological companies have joined hands, and because of these increasing number of these therapeutics, more will be joining hands and merging with each other. Biosimilars we have already talked, which are also called as the follow-on biologics or subsequent entry biologics or similar biotherapeutic products, which are same in response as to the innovator product, but now because the patent is the product is off patent, they are free to produce this thing, and they can offer other advantages like giving additional device for administering so that the market can be stimulated, or they can decrease the price, or they can decrease the cost of manufacturing. They can work on the cost of manufacturing. So technology into cost of manufacturing, assessment of the cost of manufacturing, that can be assessed. Cost of production can be reduced, and that is also one of the area that the pharmaceutical and biotechnology industry looks forward to, and that is the thing. So biosimilars are marketable because of the possibility of the cost advantage that they are going to give, and a similar benefit as to the innovator, but slightly decreased price because they will be working on the cost, they will be working on the technology, they will be working on the engineering. Advantages, as you see, a lot of companies can enter, and many companies can look forward to economic return without spending too much on the original research, working too much on the establishing too much of the clinical data on the patient. They already have the clinical data from the innovator thing. They just have to register the product with some additional studies, the product lab studies of the product, the characteristics of the final product, rather than the effect of the product on the humans. They can work on the final shape of the product, or the final release profile, or the final profile of the product as to how fast it reaches into the body. They can improve upon that, and that is called as the secondary R&D. That is not the new molecule R&D. That is the formulation R&D. So they can work on that, and that is the advantage. They can show that how their product is different from the earlier product because of these advantages and cost advantages. So this is just depiction of the global biosimilar pipelines. So many of the products are already there. Etanercept is a very good molecule for arthritis. It is a magical product. It is a very good product in the hands of the rheumatologists who are finding it very beautiful and very useful. And patients, whether of any age group, pediatric as well as very senior age group, with almost crippled small joints of fingers of hands as well as foot, almost very much folded or very much deviated fingers and joints, they are able to produce significant result wherein the arthritis and swelling is gradually being being sorted out, and the joints are getting back to the normal shape also. That is also being done because of the specificity of these biological products, and particularly the monoclonal antibody type of product that we'll be talking further. So this is the chain or the number of biosimilar molecules which are from India, from Lupin company. So Indian companies are also very much into this. So they look forward to a lot of these things for technology development, for research development, increasing the speed of research, automation, and then subsequently business, supply chain management, and marketing. Biosuperiors, as I said, they are the off-patent innovator products for which the patent have expired. They have been taken by some other company, and they have increased some advantage. Some biological response has been increased by slightly modifying the original molecule. As I said, biologicals are very large structure protein structures. Even a small change in the small fold of the protein can cause a difference in the activity or difference in the adverse event. So that small modification is done by companies which are trying to manufacture a biosuperior. And the advantage of the biosuperior manufacturer will be that the company will be able to prove clinical superiority from the original product, and they have greater value as compared to the original product or the biosimilar products, and they become the best in class products, and naturally they can price themselves very high because they are the best products in the market at that time. So they have the initial structure that they have taken, then they have modified it, and now they are producing a product which is supposed to be best in class, and so accordingly they can price it very high till the time they have the patent on that. So they have a chance of patenting this also because it is a slightly different product. So they can register it as an innovative product. So that is another advantage, that they can have exclusivity and a higher range of price possibility for first few years. And that is why the industry is ready to do research with the advantage that the basic research has already been done, and they have to just do some additions to the original product. So research spending will also not be very high. So that offers the advantage to the industry when they look forward to this segment, biosuperiors, as a product that they can start marketing with the, already some research done. So this is a comparative table as to what are the advantages and other things. For the first in class, pipeline risk is very high. Product may fail before reaching the approval. Development cost is very high, and but it is a novel, so initial price can be very high. Biosuperiors, pipeline risk is medium because already some things are approved by the first in class or the innovator company, and development costs are not very high because some things are already done by the innovator company, and they have very good advantage. So naturally, they can also price it very high. Biosimilars are low risk. They already have everything established. They are not changing anything. They are just trying to show some modification in the final shape of the product or final pack of the product. So now we come to various categories of the biological products. The first is the monoclonal antibodies. As I said, biologicals are all the therapeutic products which have been derived from various living cells, which are either from human cells or animal cells or microbiological cells, and they are being used for constructive or therapeutic use on the some or the other disease conditions. So when we talk about monoclonal antibodies are again antibodies are proteins, and they are very specific to particular disease antigens, and antigens which are produced in the body, which are caused by some viral or other infection or in some other conditions. So they target only those antigens, bind to that antigen or the specific site on the cells, and become very specific. And that advantage is used for producing these monoclonal antibody products, which can be used as carrier for some other substances. As we can see, these monoclonal antibodies can be used as a carrier for radioactive ligand in cancer therapy, radiotherapy in cancer. We can combine the radioactive substances to monoclonal antibodies, and because they are very specific, they will go and bind to specific area on the cells, and thereby they will be binding only with the tumor cells and not binding with the other normal cells, and making this tumor cells accessible to the killer cells and uh, other immune responses in the body, so that these immune responses can finally uh, catch hold of these tumor cells. Earlier, they were not able to catch hold of tumor cells and destroy it. Now, because these monoclonal antibodies are helping the inner responses to catch hold of these tumor cells, as well as bringing additional radioactive substances, they are able to kill these tumor cells and help in cancer. So this is one of the biological products which is very much there in the market, as well as the numbers are increasing. Many companies are looking forward to this segment as a very high profit market segment because the costs are higher, so price is also very higher. So less number of units in the market, but very high returns. That is what the industry talks when they are talking about monoclonal antibodies. So these are some of the examples of the monoclonal antibodies. Monoclonal antibodies for blocking cytokine that triggers inflammation. So it is used in asthma. Asthma that is mainly contraction of the bronchioles and bronchi, but that is starting as an inflammatory response. So these monoclonal antibodies, they are able to subside this inflammatory response and thereby decrease the asthma. Normally, when we see for very chronic asthmatic patient, it is very difficult because the lung, bronchi, and tracheoles are very much constricted because of inflammation and congestion. So these products are being found to be very much effective and very much responsive. As I already told, they are the difference is almost as good as 40 to 50% response, and maybe higher than that. So that is the advantage that they are offering because of being very specific to the area of the disease to which they are targeting. Again, other diseases like uh, targeting B cells, again, for other diseases like targeting interleukins, substances within the cells which are connected to generation of psoriatic disease or the skin disease. So skin disease, psoriasis, is also caused by initial inflammation. So if we stop that inflammation process by interfering the inflammatory chemical within the cell, so this is done by the antibody to this particular agent. So monoclonal antibodies which are interacting with this thing, they are ultimately helpful in decreasing the psoriatic disease. Similarly, other products are there. So monoclonal antibodies very specific to certain substances within the cell, and therefore they are giving very good responses and very good output also. Similarly, another thing is use of anti-EGFR antibodies as biologicals against cancer. We have already shown one picture that how the antibodies are useful in cancers, that they help bringing in the radionuclide for killing that cancer, as well as they are able to hold that cancer cell or tumor cells, and they are able to stimulate the body responses, immune responses, so that they can kill tumor cells. So similarly, for using this EGFR antibody, different antibodies can be used. As I said earlier, all these biological products are to be researched and developed by taking out some substances from the living cells. So we have to start by extracting some cells from the living cells. We have to use large tanks collecting some pure cell lines. Then we have to go for large scale the multiplication of these cells in fermenters when we talk about large scale manufacturing. And we can use some specific things. For example, in this case, we are talking about EGFR, a complicated name which is not necessary to be discussed now, but it is very useful for specific cancers which are being treated by using this particular developing this specific product. So this product is available in the form of following two brands, cetuximab as well as panitumumab, as injections, very high price injections, and that is the advantage to the industry. They have worked hard on developing this thing, and they have offered these parameters at the advantage. The T half will be 4.7 days. That means within 4.7 days, the amount of the product that remains in the body after giving the therapeutic effect that will be going out and not continuing in the body. So that some of the advantages like these are very much offered, and that is how different products place themselves in the market. That I have this advantage, I have this advantage, and all these things can be developed. Another advantage as to how these antibodies are acting, they are going and attaching to specific antigens, and the response is immediately visible within the cell, and within the cell the physiology starts changing, and a lot of complicated terms are there, but we don't need to go into those complicated terms. It is simply specificity of these antibodies, and then their ability to bind with specific area, and then ability to generate a response within the cell, which is useful. Next technology is the antisense technology. Antisense technology is a technology wherein we are trying to reduce the formation of some proteins in the body. Uh, One thing, as I have told in the beginning of this webinar, that proteins are very important whenever we are talking about diseases, whenever we are talking about therapeutics, whenever we are talking about treatments, because most of the diseases involve generation of one or the other proteins, which may be not useful to the body, which may be recognized as an external proteins to the body, and which may start causing reaction by the body, which is called as the inflammatory reaction. So these proteins, when they are acting as disease generators, they have to be stopped. And normally, a protein is produced starting by the signal from one substance within the single cell, which is called as the ribonucleic acid. Ribonucleic acid are two types: messenger and transfer ribonucleic acids. So they transfer the exact combination of the proteins which has to be manufactured. Each protein is a combination of amino acids. So they take forward the signal, and then finally with the DNA they are able to manufacture this protein. So if a non-wanted protein is there, we can stop this RNA in between, and that can be done by uh, uh, administering another substance which is a parallel suffice or complementary to this RNA, and it binds with this RNA, and thereby the activity of the RNA to give the signal to manufacture this protein is lost, because it is now not able to transfer the signal. So by interfering the structure of this ribonucleic acid by administering another substance which is complementary. This complementary substance reduces the activity, and so this RNA is not able to produce that disease protein, and thereby the disease is not able to progress forward. So this is antisense technology. So again, it is represented in the same way. RNA is there; it wants to produce this protein. So either we are trying to disrupt the RNA uh, by uh, by by breaking it in between, or we are trying to breaking it in between, or we are trying to add some other substances so that it is not able to produce this protein. This is the summary of the antisense technology. It is also a biological product because ribonucleic acids had to be manufactured. Ribonucleic acids are also small amino acid structures, and they have a proper sequence, so they have to be manufactured in a very specific environment in large scale fermentation areas, and very tightly controlled engineering and acclimatized atmospheres. So a lot of things to look forward to. For the advantages, as I said, they can reduce. They are very specific because they are reducing specific proteins, so they can be very specific, and they can promise that they will not be causing any other effect in the body because of their specificity. So if they are purified very nicely, purification is a very important aspect, and large scale manufacturing and automation and purification, they become very important aspect when all these biological products are being manufactured, because even a small attachment of unwanted protein, or even a small diversion in the structure or fold of the protein, may cause additional side effects. So they can give very good specificity to these things. So these are some of the examples of the products which are already there in the market. Another category is oncolytic vaccines. As I said, we are talking about corona vaccine as one of the harmful vaccines, and we are very much troubled presently. We are very much exhausted by the tension that the disease vaccine the virus is causing. But we can have same viruses as vaccines. As I defined vaccines earlier, vaccines are simply viruses or bacterial cells which have been attenuated or which have been decreased in their activity, or all their activity has been stopped, so that they cannot cause any response, but they can just initiate an immune response in the body. So vaccines from the virus and bacteria which are oncolytic or which can cause breakage in the tumor cells. So that is the technology. It is very much visible here. We can modify a virus by modifying its gene, so that when it enters into the healthy cell, it is not able to cause any harmful effect or any breakage of the normal cells. But because the gene or nuclear material of that virus has been modified, when it goes into the tumor cells, it is very specific to the tumor cells. It multiplies there. It does not multiply in the normal cells. And after multiplication, it causes the breakage of the tumor cell into many fragments, and those fragments can be reabsorbed by the human immune system and the cleaning system, which takes away all the debris of the breakage of the tumor cells and then dissipate into and then excrete into various systems out of the body. So, because of the virus, which has been made very specific to tumor cells by genetic modification, it only breaks down the tumor cells and thereby it becomes very specific. So, it is breaking, that is why it is called as the oncolytic virus, oncolytic vaccine, because the other effects have been decreased. So, based on which particular cancers or cells they are targeting, they are given different names. For example, HSV, hepatic virus, which is for liver liver related diseases. So HSV. Similarly, we have different names which indicate the tissue to which they are targeting. So this is one virus. Similarly, there may be other virus which can be used very nicely. Ceprevir virus, which is being used for replicating the neurons of the brain and spinal cord, and it is also being used for apart from oncolytic vaccine, it is being used in other ways also for delivering genes which are helping generate the normal proteins and systems in the cell. So these vaccines can be either replicating and destroying the tumor cells specifically, or they can also be delivering specific genes inside the normal cells. So both ways they can be used as a carrier as well as a sort of bombs or the blast which can destroy the stem cells, and thereby they can be very much useful. So a lot of technology, a lot of large-scale manufacturing technology, a lot of fast and high throughput research technology, so a lot of things to work upon, and a very large number of multinational companies working exhaustively in these areas. This is again another representation and useful in mesotheliomas. Mesotheliomas are a type of cancer. So same technology, vaccines entering into virus entering into being delivered into specific tumor cells and then blasting the tumor cells and not blasting the normal cells. Next is the CAR T cell immunotherapy. When we talk about T cells, there is some basic. T cells are immune cells in the body, which are part of the lymphocytes. When we talk about the immune response in the body, which is done by B lymphocytes as well as the T lymphocytes, and the combination of these two lymphocytes, they give the final outcome as to recognizing the things which are causing the disease in the body, and ultimately catching hold of those things in the cells, and then ultimately making sure that after catching these things, they are destroyed by various substances in the body, which are digestive substances or digestive juices, and then thereby the disease-causing substances destroyed. So, if we are able to take out these T cells from the body and then slightly make them very much specific, make them very specific, and then again reintroduce them within the body. These T cells, after modification, very specific modification, they are able to generate increased efficiency to identify and catch hold of either tumor cells or other substances which are causing disease in the body, and thereby they can catch hold of those things and destroy them, whether they are tumor cells or other cells. So this technology is very high-end technology and large-scale manufacturing and fast, high-throughput research screening requires a lot of engineering and other aspects also, maintaining, transferring atmospheric controls and other things. Purification, high-end purification, fast purification, repeated purification. So this is called as CAR T cell technology. CAR T cell is actually chimeric antigen receptor technology. Uh, as I said, lymphocytes, T lymphocytes and B lymphocytes are already there in the body, but they have to be made specific in some cases, because in normal conditions they are not able to diagnose the substance which is causing disease. They are not able to catch hold of those things, and thereby they are not able to function properly. So they can be taken out from the body. T cells can be taken out from the body. Then they can be then some integration can be there. Genetic modification can be there, and then this called as the T cell transfection. Then they can be again reintroduced, and thereby they can be used either for patient monitoring or for therapeutic products. So this is one of the important technology that is very much based on biologicals or the substances which are being obtained from the human or the other cells. And this technology has been labeled as another very milestone technology in last few years. After the antibiotics were discovered way back in the 90s, 1990s, 1940s and 50s. This is one of the prominent therapies, biologicals and particularly CAR T cell therapy, which is being very highly used for delivering therapeutic substances to the body after making sure that we have derived some substances from the body itself. So this is a very peculiar nature when we are talking about biologicals. We are getting the therapeutic substances from the body when we are modifying them slightly, and then we are introducing them again in the body. So as such, we are not talking about any synthetic molecules, but they are substances from within the body. And when we are talking about substances from within the body, we can expect that mostly there will be proteins. And so proteomics is a very big branch nowadays, and how to modify microscopically or three-dimensionally the structures of proteins, very big research area. And because the research has to be very fast, a lot of technology angle to it, a lot of large manufacturing and fast research technology angle to it, as well as business angle to it. Another use of biologicals is in theranostics, or as it can be evident from this word theranostic, that means therapeutics, that means therapy or treatment, and gnostics, that means diagnostics or identification of the disease. So both the things are combined. So when we talk about diagnostics, we are talking about X-rays, we are talking about CT scans, we are talking about MRIs, in which we are trying to get the image of particular soft tissues in the body. Normally, X-rays can take the images of bones and other things, but we want to have X-rays of soft tissues. We need to make sure that those tissues are being illuminated properly, so that the X-rays do not or the other rays you have they are able to take appropriate images. So when the problem is there that we are not able to particularly identify disease substance or the protein which is there in the body, and which is not able to locate that particular substance in the body, so then we can use this therapy which is called as the theranostic. Theranostic is again a biological substance which has been a protein substance which has been combined with another substance which is able to go inside the body and produce some sort of luminescence, and that luminescence or the other thing can be immediately caught up by the membrane resonance imaging or other imaging or PET scan imaging, and thereby it becomes easy to identify the location of that particular disease causing substances, or the intensity or the quantity of the disease causing substances in a particular area, and thereby calibrate or scale the limit of the disease, the amount of the disease, the prevalence of the disease, and the extent of the disease in different parts of the body. So very simply explained in this particular imaging experimentation, where one substance has been administered. For example, in this case, we are talking about natural homolog protein, bombacin, which is a homolog to the substance within the body, gastrin-releasing peptide in the body, and it has been radio labeled with copper 64 and copper 67, which is a normal radio labeled substances, which is given when we are using radio labeled imaging, PET scan imaging, or MRI imaging. So these substances can be fixed to this protein, and this protein will go specifically in that particular area which is related to gastrin-releasing peptide, particularly the gastric area, and thereby the scanning of that gastric area will be very easy, and it will be very appropriate, and that is how it is helping. So theranostics are based on utilizing substances derived from body, and tagging or combining them with radiolabel substances so that diagnosis and radio diagnosis and PET scan or MRI imaging is possible. Then there are other therapies also in which we are modifying the DNAs and then trying to give some sort of treatments. Similarly, trying to enhance the chemotherapy by identifying specific DNAs which have to be hampered or which have to be obstructed so that we don't the generation of specific proteins which are causing some problem within the cell, they can be stopped. So all these things are also happening. Another important aspect in the biological segment is the stem cell therapy, which is a very big industry. Stem cell therapy, if we talk about industry-wise, it is a very big industry now. And and the coming years, the ethical issues as they are getting sorted out, the stem cells will be one of the mainstays in many therapies, and they will be offering even permanent cures in many areas, and very positive things to look forward to. When we talk about stem cells, they are cells from the body which have the ability to divide, and we can choose different sources, stem cells from the blood, or we can choose stem cells from the muscle, nerve, or other cells, or even the when we talk about uh, the fetal stem cells, which are the most potent, and they have different capacity. Those who cannot differentiate into different type of cells in the body, they are called as the totipotent, and those who can differentiate themselves into many types of cells within the body, they are called as the pluripotent. So these stem cells can uh, go inside the body. They can offer a lot of natural things to the cells and regenerate that area, or try to take together with them some substances which can destroy the disease causing substances in that area, or increase the capacity of the immune response of the body so that they can kill that disease causing substances. So they can also be used by themselves as a replacement of for the specific cells, or as a carrier for specific substances to that area, or they can be used for different purposes. So a very large use for these substances, and because they again also have to be very much taken care of about their purity before administration. So very high end technology in manufacturing, in processing, in purification, and other aspects. So as I said, different type of stem cells, tissue stem cells, various tissues, or embryonic stem cells, or induced pluripotent stem cells. Those stem cells which do not have the capacity to diversify into different cells, but they have been induced so that they can diversify. They can also be externally, they have been stimulated to diversify. They are called as the induced. So they can be very nicely used for all these conditions. Stem cells can reduce inflammation in joints. They can fight apoptosis or the automatic destruction of the normal cells, and they can help in differentiation by accident. If there is some damage to a particular tissue area, these stem cells can go and produce all types of cell by diversifying themselves, and so all these cells can be produced in a particular tissue, and that tissue can be regenerated, sort of tissue re-engineering, and replication can also be other areas. Meso mesokine stem cells are very much highly used. So they can also offer all these advantages. They can generate blood vessels. They can multiply, and they can reform a blood vessel which has been destroyed in an area. They can reform a nuclear cell, or the nerve cell in a particular area, which is called as the by myelation or the other processes. They can cause synaptogenesis in the area in which the two nerve cells are not appropriately transferring signals. They can start create a proper junction and synapse, so they are synaptogenesis. Similarly, apoptosis, neurogenesis, all these are the advantages that these stem cells can offer. So again, very high-end technology. So now we come to the technologies in biologics. As we discuss about the takeaway from these seminars, naturally, pharmaceutical scientists and technologists, as well as the business entrepreneurs and healthcare entrepreneurs, they have a lot of things to look forward to. And even the technologists and automation specialists have a lot of things to look forward to. When we talk about all these biological products, they have two basic aspects. First, the substance, the cellular substance from which the useful substance has to be extracted, that has to be produced. So for that, the pure cell line has to be taken, and it has to be multiplied in increasing size of fermenters. So that is called as the upscaling or the upscale process. So one cell can be taken and it can be multiplied to produce a large volume of cells. Now from these large volume of cells, we have to filter out the substance that we desire. It can be CAR T cell, it can be monoclonal antibody, it can be viral antigen, it can be antisense technology, RNA. So that has to be extracted, then that has to be purified by different process. So the speed also has to be very high, as well as the output has to be very purified and very sure. So a lot of technology development, large scale validation, large scale manufacturing validation, large scale process automation, so that ultimately the final product that is coming out is the best substance and the purified substance, and does not have any other impurity, because even a small impurity can cause havoc with the life of the people. So we have to be very sure of the substance coming out. So we need to control all these technology and engineering aspects, so that we are able to ensure that all the processes are validated and precise and able to generate a very pure outcome. So this is just a small representative pictures as to when we talk about technologies in large scale manufacturing. This can be the complicated manufacturing setup for all these biologicals. Naturally, this is more complicated as compared to the small molecule pharmaceutical industry that we presently see. So in the coming years, when we talk about more and more biologicals and industries being set up, we also see lot many new plants being set up of these types. So lot much of project work, project design work, project installation, project erection work also available. Lot of validation, lot of environment control. All these things are also available. Lot of accessories and other things. So this is just a small picture of a biological manufacturing plant by FY Biological Manufacturing Plant in Singapore. Because investment is very high, so naturally output and the return is also very high, because the products are high cost, but they are very targeted and very specific. So naturally they have the advantage of pricing themselves in a very high way. So a lot of things to look forward to business for business also. So as you can see again these advantages. If we compare small molecule pharmaceutical manufacturing, which is a batch manufacturing, small processes are there, and these small processes are limited to themselves. They can be finished, and then the product can be taken, then it can be transferred to the other process, then again it can be separated, then it can be transferred, then again separation, then again transferred to the next product. So they can be batch processes. As compared to that, the biological manufacturing involves a continuous manufacturing, and also called as a single process line manufacturing or customized manufacturing, wherein the process has to flow without interruption. Once it has started, automation has to be there. So it has to flow continuously from the first point to the last point, which has already been validated and structured and properly automated without interruptions in between, without any external interruption. So a lot of automation, lot of facility control, lot of area control, lot of environment control, lot of engineering and technology. So we have already discussed this thing. So a lot of things to look forward to for innovation and other things. If we talk about the manufacturing cost for a pharmaceutical manufacturing, we see that plant and property, they constitute around 6 to 10% of the total manufacturing cost. The rest of the cost is the material cost and the other costs which are utilized for manufacturing different batches. But in case of biological manufacturing, the amount of complexity that we see in the manufacturing plant in this particular setup, we can understand that the manufacturing cost will be much higher. It will be at least up to taking at least 20% of the total investment when we talk about setting up a manufacturing this thing. Proteomics, I have already discussed. Proteins are very, when we talk about biologicals, we are automatically talking about protein structures. So we have to identify proteins, we have to separate proteins from different proteins. We have to make sure that their structure is not destroyed. So proteomics is a total branch, which is a technology related branch, which talks about how to separate proteins from different mixtures without causing damage to their own structure, their helical structure, their convoluted structures, without and getting them in the purified form, in the original structure in which they are existing within the living cell, whether in the human cell, animal cell, or the microbial cell. So it is a complete branch in itself. It is a complete technology branch in itself. So automation in proteomics, when we are trying to separate the proteins, all these steps are involved. So again, a lot of engineering and technology offers innovative areas in which the technologists can work, whether normal computational, whether computers, whether mechanical or other engineering or electronic aspects. They can. Now, proteomics is working in tandem with all these things and making sure that all these biologicals are produced. So we have to combine the proteomics or the protein chemistry or the protein technology specification or specialization to medicinal chemistry, antiviral, functional genomics, metabolomics, computational drug design, lot of computation, software computation, lot of docking studies wherein the new molecules produced are docked to human cells or the other cells. So simultaneously, you have to deal with different angles, technology on one part, the biology on one part. So it is biotechnology as well as bioengineering as well as bioprocessing, which is happening side by side in all these cases. Coming to the industry trends, globally, if we talk about the top pharmaceutical companies, the top 10 companies, multinational, Pfizer, Merck, Johnson & Johnson, Roche, very high level companies, very high market value companies. Pharmaceutical companies happen to be the high end market value companies, very good market value along with IT companies. And the another thing is that they have a very good margin of prescription sale, as well as the R&D spend is also proportionately kept higher by these companies who are trying to be on the top 10. And from this particular graph, this is an indicative graph. If we see it very precisely, this indicates the percentage change of specialty product sales in the four years, 2010 to 2014. So for some of these companies, they have gradually decreased their sale of pharmaceutical or the small molecule products, and gradually they have increased their sale of percentage change of biologics products. So in their total portfolio of the products, the amount of the number of biological products is gradually going on the positive side, and the number of pharmaceutical or the small molecule products is gradually going on the lower side. So they are increasing their total number of products which are of the biological type. Similarly, their R&D expenditure on the biologicals is also gradually increased. So we have taken these 10 companies and we see that they are massively into large-scale manufacturing of these biological products as well as large-scale research of these products. So when they are doing research, they have to depend upon all these technologies, sales analytics to regulatory milestones, country databases, company databases, epidemiology, market size databases, a lot of databases they have to go through. Then they have to identify the protein that they would like to work upon, and then they have to start. Again, this is an indication that how this corona pandemic is will be changing the industry scenario. Many companies will be merging. There will be mega mergers and acquisitions. Already we have seen mega mergers and acquisitions. AstraZeneca, GSK, Novartis, they are tying up with each other so that they don't do unnecessary replication of research work, and they are doing some part, each one of them properly distributed, and they are trying to reduce their R&D expenditure, because a lot of R&D expenditure will be required in biologicals. So mergers and acquisitions is being affected by conditions like corona and similar pandemics. They will be on and off changing the industry scenario. They will be changing the business strategies also. So the number of biological products is gradually going on increasing. Yearly approval by the regulatory body. Every year, more and more biologicals are getting approved. This is the pharmaceuticals, this is the biologicals. So more and more biologicals are getting approved every year. So Indian pharma industry has a lot to look forward to. Indian pharma industry is placed with the good reputation and good regards in the global industry, because it has a manufacturing setup which is approved by global standards of US FDA as well as the European FDA. So very good and very high capacity of manufacturing industries. A large number of pharmaceutical manufacturing units which are approved by US FDA and other things. So the global industries look forward to Indian pharma industry for taking up the large scale manufacturing of biologicals also. with their inherent strength in manufacturing of pharmaceuticals. So this is the strength of the Indian pharma industry. Revenues, revenue share of various segments, generic, OTC, and patentable drugs, various infection or the other therapeutic segments which the Indian industry provides the therapeutic products. Uh, College of Pharmacy is trying to do its own work in small scale as well as lab scale research as well as some sort of transferable research with good number of patents and other things. And we are happy that we are generating and making sure that qualitatively we are moving forward in rankings and other areas. This is some of the consultancy areas that we are offering to the pharma industries, herbal industry and other industries, and we are looking forward to more. So this is a summary as to, thank you very much. So out of this particular corona epidemic, we can look forward to a lot many positive things. That is the purpose of this webinar. This is one virus which has caused an havoc, but virus and other biological things, or this, as I said, the substances which are from the various cells, they are being used very nicely and very quantitatively, and humankind will be benefiting with lot many therapeutic products in the coming years. So that is what we should be positive about, and we should look forward to. And the takeaways, as I said earlier, a lot of things to look forward to for the pharmaceutical scientists as well as technologists, the healthcare professionals, the healthcare technologists, the normal technologies, the mechanical engineers, the electronic engineers, the automation engineers, and other people which are connected with patent filing and other aspects. And also for business, as I said, this is a very high value business. Biologicals are a high value business, so it is a very high end industry, lot of profit margin. So not many things to look forward to. I hope this will be useful information for many areas to uh, produce some or the other output which may be useful for academic research for the university as well as for their personal research, or which may be useful in the long term for their associated and ancillary research apart from the particular area in which they are doing research. So once again, very positive goodbye to everyone, so that they can take very positive notes from this, and they can work, they can think in not many areas. Thank you very much. So some questions are there, and from the audience, Lavina Mehta is there, and they can unmute themselves, and they can they can ask for the questions that they have asked. Lavina, Mr. Harinder Lamba, lot of claims are being flouted in news about vaccines. In your opinion, what is the veracity of these claims? Vaccines for this particular, I think you are talking about corona vaccines. So naturally, globally, a lot of trials are going on, and we are lucky that we are in an era that we can talk about high throughput trials and very fast trials, and abbreviated trials or shortened trials that we talk about. And because of that, the speed of trial will be fast, and the purpose of the trial is mostly to identify the possible side effect or adverse events or major adverse events, so that we don't come out a product which is actually harmful. So hopefully we should be able to, or the globally the company should be able to produce a good number of vaccines within next 3 or 4 months. That is what I can see as far as my wisdom goes. Apart from that, the industry works in its own fashion, and there may be some other things which may be hidden. So shortest span will be 3 to 4 months, and the largest span will be, I think, 6 to 7 months, and then manufacturing will take its own time, so that will be another 6 months. Large scale manufacturing for the required quantity. Next question is by Lavina Mehta. The question is not written. If you can unmute yourself. Not audible. This question is not audible. Wait, audible to her. The question audible is Mr. Amit Vashish, what makes the virus airborne? If you are talking about this particular virus, coronavirus, naturally viruses are, by definition, viruses are actually metabolic products which are produced by bacterial or the other cells. So naturally they are very micron in size, and they have the tendency, if they are being housed in areas such as respiratory area, from which they can come out with the exhaled air or by coughing. So naturally they have a tendency that because of their lighter weight, they can be airborne for quite some time, and the response varies, the virulence or the harmful activity. When we talk about the virulence, how far the virulence remains in what atmosphere, that is the important thing. Some virus do not remain virulent or harmful immediately as they come out from one physiological fluid. So how much is the virulence after coming into the atmosphere and becoming airborne, that is an important aspect. So that varies from virus to virus. In this case, corona, presently it is categorized as not a very high community spread virus, because the virus does not travel very far away, and the virulence also remains for a limited time. Next is Mr. Harinder Lamba, that I have already answered. Next is Hina Khan. What are biologics which are affordable in the COVID-19 time? I think it is already now very well evident from the TV channels and other things. Biologics, no biologics has been proved very authentically, whether it is of the vaccine type or whether it is of the sera type or whether it is of the antisense technology or any other thing. Nothing has been proved to be substantially significantly useful with limited adverse event, as for none of these things the clinical trial has advanced to the final stage. So presently, as it is already known, we don't have anything presently, but naturally we can have anything within the next 3 or 4 months for sure. Same thing. Next is the Dr. K.K. Sharma. Dr. K.K. Sharma, where are we in the vaccine for COVID-19? When can we expect it? I think already I have answered it to Mr. Harinder Lamba's question. We should be out with next a prominent discovery and final trial within the next 4 months, and quantitatively produce vaccine within the next 8 or 10 months. Can you name few of the well-known biosuperior products which have been in the market? Yes, etanercept is one product which has been there. Then we have many of the monoclonal antibodies which have been increased in their activity as compared to the innovator products. They have been brought out by Indian companies like Cipla and Lupin. Also, they are working on biosuperiors. The original companies were from USA who brought out the innovator products. Now these companies have slightly increased the overall advantage of the effect of these molecules, and they are bringing out these products which are structurally same as the innovator biological product, but with additional advantages as compared to the innovator products, and they have already entered the market. So that is why they have been able to reap in more benefit. That is what they are going to do. Next is Mr. Rajnish Sharma. Again, we keep on hearing about generic medicines which should be relatively inexpensive. Generic medicines are actually, in proper definitions, If a innovator company has expired its patent or presently 20 years of its period has finished, now that the patent is off patent and the same molecule can be manufactured in different formulation, tablet, injection, etc. by some other company and Indian companies or other companies, and they can either change the formulation, that is from tablet to syrup they can change, or they can change the type of tablet, or they can change the composition of the tablet or other formulation. So that is the basic definition of generic. And generic products, uh, they can also be priced uh, to a higher level. It is not necessary that all generics should be of the low cost, but they can be generic products. Normally mean that the patent for the innovator company has expired. Now they have been taken by some other company, and they can also manufacture it by their own brand. When they make it by their own brand, naturally for branding and other costs, they will keep the price of the product higher. But if they sell to institutional sales, when we talk about institutional sales, that means selling in the hospitals in large quantities. They will sell it by the name of the molecule, because that hospital also takes the same molecule from other companies, because it has very large requirement, and one company may not be able to supply all the supplies. So in that case, the selling is by method of name of the molecule or the generic molecule. So in that case, they can keep the price slightly lower. So that is the scenario. Generic can be generic branded, or generic can be generic low cost for institutional or hospital supplies, which normally happens in Europe and America. Europe and America have a very good government structure of healthcare structure, in which the citizens are just giving some insurance premium for their healthcare, and out of that premium, government is responsible that they just go to the hospital, they have a registration number, and the government provides them the medicines. So normally, government hospitals, they procure these medicines from pharmaceutical companies in form of large bottles or generic products. So they are not producing it in procuring it in the name of brands. So it is more prominent in case of companies like USA and UK and other countries. So in those countries also, because the government has to bear the cost. Now they prefer that if a good quality product is available, they can get it in low cost. So they prefer generics rather than branded. Branded already always has some extra cost, because the company has developed the brand and differentiated the brand in the market, and made it more prominent and make it more customized, as well as more nicely placed in the market. So for placing it nicely in the market, they want to add the cost. So it is that is the case. Next is by Sonia Sethi about the information. Next, Preeti J, comprehensive presentation. Thank you very much. Great session from Ira Nagpal. Thank you very much. No question from my side. Lavina Mehta. Thank you very much. Interesting information talk, Mr. Onkar Bedi. Informative session from Lavina Mehta. Thank you very much. Can you explain community transmission of COVID-19? Ravi Dandotia. Community transmission is expected in case of COVID, in cases of areas, for example, Dharavi, that we are seeing, in which the proximity is very high, and we don't have the proper facility for social distancing and other things. In cases like Chandigarh and Panchkula, where we are living with a as a lucky lot, where we have appropriate distancing space, we have our own vehicles. I don't think we should be worried about community transmission. So whenever we talk about community transmission, we can imagine about community transmission when we are going to a very high dense market area, or areas like Calcutta, or areas like some UP market, where the density of movement will be very high. So naturally, in case of such areas where we are living, we don't expect too much of community transmission, and that is why we don't see too much of case rise in these areas. So we should be uh, happy about it. Thank you, sir. Harinder Labha. Mr. Umesh Jugran, what should we do, or how should we know if we come in contact with? I think you are already technology savvy. We are all in Chitkara. We are very technology savvy. We have that app downloaded. That app, by Arogya Setu app. I think that is a very good way, and I think some other apps are already there. So this is more of a technology, more for the engineers, and we in the pharma side, we normally are not interested in these things. But in your case, I think you must be belong to technology specialization. I think you must already be well versed about all these things. Traditional medicines. What about the traditional medicines? They will continue naturally. No medicines will be outdated. All medicines will continue. It is based on the response that is required, whether immediate response or the benefit that a particular biological is giving the advantage, whether it is giving a long-term advantage, a cure advantage, and secondly the cost. If a common man cannot afford the cost, naturally, if he is covered under some government scheme, naturally he can be administered. We have many government schemes in which the government is taking care, but despite that, there may be some cases in which there may not be some such schemes available. So in those cases, the normal molecules will continue, and symptomatic treatments and other things. There may be a combination of biologicals and pharmaceuticals that will keep on going on. I am not telling that pharmaceutical industry will drastically change. Naturally, both of things will those things will be going on. We'll be having more biological manufacturing plants, and pharmaceutical plants will also keep on going on. That is the thing. Chemical drugs research will also keep on going because naturally they have a chance of better, faster research as well as faster development because they are synthetic molecules. So naturally, that industry will survive and it will keep on going. What about so next? This is Umesh Jagran about the app traveling back to college. Uh, and I think app again, as you are asking about app, that Arogya Setu app gives the exact location as to how far you from that particular person to whom that COVID is there. So that app will help you. Apart from that, the university itself has given that exit plan and exit guidelines, and university will take care about your traveling, the distance when traveling in bus, the distance when you are getting seated in your workplace, the distance when you are going around in the university campus. So university has its own guidelines. So I think, but naturally, more apps can be there and they can be improved upon. And I think the engineering faculty can think about these apps. University oncolytic vaccine re-explanation. Oncolytic vaccines, I have already told you, vaccines are basically viruses or bacterial cells whose pathogenic activity or the harmful activity has been destroyed, and they are administered in small quantity to the human or the other living physiology system of the body, so that they are able to stimulate the immune response and generate the antibodies. In this case, oncolytic vaccines are also made in the same way. These vaccines also have the virus which have been killed or the bacteria which virus which have been killed, but their genetic makeup has been modified so that when they are administered after killing or attenuating, they only go to the tumor cell and they replicate or multiply only in the tumor cells, and because of that multiplication they ultimately blast the tumor cells, but they are not able to replicate in the normal human cell because their genetic makeup has been made in such a way externally so that they are not able to multiply in the human cell. So thereby they are able to differentiate themselves and cause damage only to the tumor cells and give a very good therapeutic effect. Amanpreet Kaur, good afternoon, sir. Thank you. Surya City, thank you very much. Rashmi Arora, nice informative session. Thank you very much. Arun Lal Srivastav, wonderful session. Thank you very much. Raj Rani, thank you, sir. Information is very useful. Thank you very much. Ravinder Singh, very informative, sir. Thank you. Rupinder Kaur, innovative, interesting lecture in pandemic will certainly going to help. Thank you very much. Hina Khan, thank you very much. Herb's role in COVID-19. Herb's role, naturally, there is another part to the COVID. First part for the COVID infection is the infection by the virus and how far the virus has gone into the respiratory tract, whether it is still in the throat area or the tracheal area, whether it has traveled into the upper respiratory tract or whether it has got into the alveoli region and got seated, and how much it has multiplied. Uh, Till the time it has not reached the lowermost level in the respiratory tract or in the alveoli of the lungs, the immune response, if it is substantiated, there is chance that the virus can be destroyed, and gradually, because it is not able to replicate in sufficient quantity, it will die out itself. So naturally, herbs have definitely a very good possibility that they can increase the immune response and stop the bacteria as far as possible from going before it reaches in the lowermost area of the respiratory tract, where it goes and multiplies and causes changes in the surface tension of the lungs air baggages, whereby the air baggages collapse. So if we can stop it by immune responses before it goes into the lowermost respiratory tract, the herbs are naturally very much useful. We can definitely use them, and many of the products will definitely be useful. Government is also trying, and many of them are being tested clinically also. So they have a good role. So next, Japnur Kaur, thank you very much. Prasenjit Das, thank you very much, thank you very much. So these are the number of questions. Again, I am very thankful for patience, audience. I hope I have not been able to uh, bore you. I've been able to incite you and give you some stimulation for possible research work in your respective areas. And this has been an enjoyable session. Thank you very much, everyone.